It is your PrisonPlanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here in this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. It's January 30th on this Wednesday edition, 2013. We're going to be live here for the next 3 hours. And we had him on last week, and the hour went by very quickly. So I wanted to get him on for an hour today so you could question him. Jim Garrow was talking about quote, a retired military living legend, saying that the military brass that he knows has told him they're having a litmus test. Will you fire on U.S. citizens? Well, the military's training for that. And that's in the news. And General Boykin, the former head of Special Forces, he's been talking about plans for a police state. He's been talking about our government giving al-Qaeda terrorist weapons. Gee, I wonder what General Mr. Garrow is talking about. But he has more to say today. And he said the general, not that we know it's Boykin, did not want to go public himself, but wanted to go through Jim Garrow. And I looked up Jim Garrow. He runs heavily in the big Christian circles, as General Boykin does, the same circles. But he will not reveal the source. I'm smart enough to know who it is. And again, people say, well, why are you revealing it then? You know, 99% chance. Because the NSA and the government already knows. I don't live in a delusional world here, ladies and gentlemen. And I wasn't sworn to secrecy. I can just tell who it is. So Dr. James Garrow, Ph.D., is going to be joining us, and then always informative. I want to get his take on the entire police state and unconstitutional activities. A constitutional advisor to the Congress, constitutional lawyer, a top advisor, policy advisor to Ron Paul when he was a congressman and also running for president. Constitutional lawyer Bruce Fein will be joining us coming up. And we will have open phones yet again. First-time callers. You know, yesterday I said first-time callers. And a few of the callers are like, Alex, it's good to talk to you again. I called in last year. No, this is first-time callers. Your chance to call in with whatever issues you want to raise, questions, comments, news items that you want to talk about. In fact, I'll just give the number out right now for first-time callers. It's 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. Now, obviously, there is a lot of really, really wild news going on. It just continues to confirm our worst concerns about what's happening in the society. I've got reports here where couple facing 60 days in jail for rescuing injured baby deer. The message is you don't do anything. You sit there in a catatonic state and go along with whatever the system wants. That report is up at Infowars.com. I've got to do a compilation of these. In fact, I'm going to go back and talk to my video crew about this during the break. And we've got to think of all the examples the last month or two. I mean, there's got to be more than 20 where they say gun owners are Nazis. Gun owners must be dealt with like Hitler was at CBS News. Gun owners are the new Klan. Everyone in the South is just scum and has to be overcome. We're going to get rid of the Constitution. Time to get rid of it. The Founding Fathers are bad. Now MSNBC has their people on saying, quote, Finney says, crazy crackers. And again, they want racial division in this country. And I saw that article out of Newsweek last week, Peer Pressure I've talked about so much, where it says the fight is not only brown and black against white now, but our friends, the communist Chinese, will help, and so will Piers Morgan. It's globalism against the evil Southerners. And Alex Jones, let him prepare his flamethrower. He's going down. I mean, these are the revolutionaries. And again, they don't want people living in peace. They don't want it to be about ideas of liberty and freedom. It's you're racist because you want to own guns and property. You're like, what's it have to do with it? Shut up, racist. We're going to arrest you for that Hello Kitty bubble gun. We're going to shut down Lego because Jabba the Hutt's supposedly an Arab. And you're like, That doesn't make sense. Oh, exactly what a Klansman would say. It's purely designed at the lowest common denominator and is amazing. Huge news on the economy we're going to cover first. All this and more straight ahead. We are living on the edge of a designed, controlled implosion. They opened 3 new coal-powered plants a week in communist China. We are not allowed to open 1 new one a year. In fact, just this week, multiple coal power plants, we covered this on Monday, were shut down, more modern plants that are extremely clean, and a new one that had been built over the last 5 years has officially been told they're not allowed to open on the Texas coast. That was to supply Houston, Corpus Christi, and surrounding areas. We now have to buy our power from Mexico. That's on record, who have completely dirty coal-burning plants, but again, they're globalist-owned. You see, everything is about shutting us down with taxes and regulations and red tape so you can only operate in India and China and Mexico. And it doesn't build up those people. It actually lowers their standard of living on average as well. Go look at it. China has a lower standard of living. Mexico has a lower standard of living. India has a lower standard of living for the general population. And they try to cook those numbers, but it's clear. That's why just in 2011, something like 48,000 farmers committed suicide in India. And it was some huge number last year as well. The official tallies aren't out yet. Statistics always come out 6 months to a year later. Mexico, I don't have to tell you about Mexico. Its economy, just the worst it's ever been. Close to 60,000 deaths the last 5 years. This is the incredible situation that the world is facing, and the globalists use poverty as a control mechanism. Let me just go over some of the headlines that we're going to be covering today, and then I'm going to go to your calls because I'm shaking the show up because I like taking your calls ahead of the 2 big guests we've got joining us today. I'll tell you about at the bottom of the hour. They're also linked up on the front page of Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com if you want to read more about the guests and some of the other issues we're going to be covering. We've got more military and police drills terrorizing people. First it was Miami and then Houston with the Army, and now it's going on in Chicago. Woman sues police over flash grenade SWAT raid to the wrong house. Police state gone wild. Couple facing 60 days in jail for rescuing injured baby deer. Charlie Daniels says the nanny state politicos of this president will result in chaos and bloodshed. That's the plan. Who runs the world? Solid proof a core group of wealthy elitists is pulling the strings. I want to go over that article later. It's pretty powerful. You know you're no longer living in a free country when? I've got to get to that article because it just goes through just the latest amazing trampling of liberty. Fluoridation ends in another major city after 51 years, so some good news on that front. MSNBC's Finney rips crazy crackers on the right for very hateful language. And again, this is all about the so-called left, who are really nothing more than authoritarians, absolutely going crazy and getting in everyone's face and saying, you're a racist, you're bad if you don't accept higher taxes, if you don't turn your guns in, if you don't take forced inoculations. They now call racist for everything. For everything. And again, it's a gang mentality. And it's not even so-called minorities, who are really the majority in this country now, who are the ones pushing it. It is the social engineers who want to divide Americans against each other. I mean, I see Obama supporters walking around, and I talk to them because I see their button pins or their bumper stickers. And I talked to some yesterday in a parking lot. I was with my son. And I said, hey, I see you have an Obama sticker. And they looked at me with a pleased look, smiling. And the lady went, Alex Jones. And I went, so you feel like you're winning right now because of Obama? She goes, well, he's better than Romney. It was an older Hispanic lady with her husband. And I said, really? I mean, he raised your payroll taxes. He lied about that. And he's very deceptive. She's like, whatever. You're just mad you lost. And it's always the same thing. It's like feeling like, hey, I won. You know, my football team won, or my guy won, while he is a total globalist. Let me explain this to people. They shut down over 200 power plants in the first 4 years of his administration. They're set to, quote, shut down massive numbers more, some estimates over 1,000. That's about half of what we've got left. Now, if you think the economy's bad now and the GDP shrinking now, folks, you ain't seen nothing yet. And let me tell you, the social engineers, it's all in Agenda 21. It's all in the big sociology papers that we covered, you know, last week with Dr. Corsi in studio. There it is, industry group, 204 coal power plants to be closed in the next 5 years. And what is that out of? Because that's the environmental leader. And when did they come out with that report? Well, that's September 20th, 2012. They've already closed 200 plants. What are they talking about? I guess that's just their estimate on what more is going to be closed. Regardless, they've already shut down 200. They say they're shutting down 200 more. Estimates I see are as many as 1,000. Because, see, they say, oh, you can stay open, just do these things, but then that bankrupts you, which you've all seen the clip, or maybe you haven't. In fact, we're going to play later the clip of the racist stuff first. But can you guys just pull up on YouTube the Obama, we're going to bankrupt coal clip from 5 years ago? Thanks. I don't want to just... I'm getting neurotic about, I don't want to just say that and listeners go, oh, yeah, right. I want you to hear Obama saying, you can have a coal power plant, we're going to bankrupt you. You know, we've got enough clean burning coal. That means it's absolutely clean without even having all the expensive scrubbers to run this country for over 100 years. In the studies they did in 1997, when Clinton laid off millions of acres in southern Utah and into one other state of the only clean-burning coal in the world other than a field in Mongolia, China, that the Chinese developed. And guess what the company that was given the state rights to that a year before, guess what happened to their stock in the week after Clinton signed an executive order in 97 knocking it off limits? Their stock doubled. Their stock doubled. You see, the real way the globalists make money is... they just shut down hundreds of plants not owned by globalists, and then that makes their profits go up because you've got to buy it from them, and they can gouge you. I mean, this is so elementary. Put rules on where nobody can have a factory here in the U.S. It moves to China. Only globalist insiders who made the deals when they put Mao into power and then officially made the deal in 75 when Nixon went there in 76. Sent his minions earlier than that. I guess Nixon went like 72. My point is that even after that happened. The issue is, ladies and gentlemen, is that this is a full takeover. And then they can go and operate. And it's total. And whenever Bush was in, Republicans were like, I don't care if he tortures. I don't care if there's secret arrest. I don't care what they do. I'm feeling good. My guy's in. And I'm like, don't you understand he's a globalist? And they had that same look of satisfaction. Shut up, liberal. And I'm like, no, he's a puppet. It's an agenda. We've got to get... And now the left is I've got to say, probably 3 times worse. I mean, they do not care what Obama does. He can raise their taxes. He can go back on promises and go after their guns. He can do all of that, and they don't care because he's their guy, and they're winners through him. Reflected glory. And it's the creed of slaves. It really gets to me. We have the Obama coal video. Here he is in 2008 on television. Here it is.
So if somebody wants to build a coal-powered plant, they can. It's just that it will bankrupt them because they're going to be charged a huge sum for all that greenhouse gas that's being emitted.
So there you go. And so, yeah, they've shut 200 and something down. They said they're going to shut down 200 more a few months ago. The numbers I've got is by some industry analysts, it's over 1,000 because you won't be able to operate. And people are like, good, I don't want those rich guys to make money off coal. Folks, and then when I talk about this, oh, you must own coal stock or be with the coal industry. I've never gotten 1 red cent from anybody involved in any petrochemicals, coal, distillates, anything, 0. Let me tell you, though, Austin is the model of the Western world. We get a UN awards. We're the official model city of Agenda 21. We even beat San Francisco out last year. Go look it up. The only other city was like one other Japanese city's our sister city. They got the co-award. Look it up. And our power prices, you can look this up, have roughly doubled the last 4+ years. And now they're set to double again. We've got one power plant that's very new, just got upgraded about a decade ago. The Fayetteville plant, one of the biggest in the state. They're set to shut it down. Works perfectly, sitting right there. City owns it, incredibly valuable asset. They want it shut down. And the mayor said this is for the earth a few months ago. And again, I've got all this news, your calls I want to go to. First-time callers at 800-259-9231. It just hurts. It hurts to know this is going to absolutely put the brakes on the economy. I mean, I told you, when 2 years ago, when the carbon taxes that they're on corporations who don't get waivers went in California, they went into a nosedive. That's the plan. When they raise taxes, they know what they're doing. Here's the news today, Wall Street Journal. U.S. economy unexpectedly contracts in fourth quarter, because you get the numbers months later. Unexpectedly. It's like you walk up and shoot somebody in the head and unexpectedly blood came out. Rick Santilli responds to negative GDP report. We are now Europe. Yep, been the plan. Beijing air hasn't been this bad since '54. Yeah, they have no air controls. U.S. debt headed towards 200% of GDP even after fiscal cliff deal. Well, that's the hill. It's designed to bankrupt us. I mean, this is not an accident. U.S. banks and stress tests, global shock. It's all by design. We'll come back and cover all this and more. Again, if you're a new listener and you're like, man, this guy is like super ultra negative. If you go into the doctor and they say you've got a compound fracture, your bone's sticking out of your leg, we've got to do a surgery and fix that, it's not negative. You're at the hospital, you're getting aid. And the politicians are like, we're going to get you more welfare, we're going to get you more food stamps, and their own official policies that we've covered ad nauseum are to deindustrialize us under the treaty that we're signed on to, Agenda 21. And the cover is it's for the environment. And it's so criminal that my own city council is the model of this. Remember 4 years ago, or 3.5 years ago, they couldn't get the carbon taxes rammed through officially at the Copenhagen, Denmark UN meeting because all those documents were coming out? How they were really planning to destroy economies and carry out eugenics? And how the third world had to have right at double the cuts even the West did, and how it was a death sentence. Not just a death sentence for the economy, death sentence for people. And Schwarzenegger said, I will lead, you can pull this up, I will lead a move and a UN plan to take over the cities and the states if the nation states will not do it. Well, they were already doing that program. It's called UN munionization, standardized, tied to federal HUD funds in our country, similar funds in Europe and other areas. And they come in with, hey, here's $50 million for your little town if you agree to pass ordinances that all these people can't build on their property, that you can only build on this property. And then the maps are drawn with the local boss hog good old boys, so they get to keep their land, and the globalists get to come in and do deals with them. I mean, it's very simple. You shut off power plants, your power plants make more money. You shut off industry, but only your industry gets to operate, now you've got a monopoly. You shut off other people's real estate, your real estate increases in price. That's how the globalists make their money and their control. That's their big secret. And so as things shut down, they say, don't worry, we got welfare for you. Oh, food stamps went from 25 million to almost 50 million. Now they're going to be 100 million. And it's the same in Europe, the same all over the world. This is an exact program. And we've talked about it forever, but people need to understand it's now going to get very, very bad. I'm going to come back and go to your calls in a long segment that's coming up, but look at this. U.S. economy unexpectedly contracts in fourth quarter. I mean, give me a break, folks. They knew that all the things they're doing would contract the economy, and wait until all the payroll taxes increasing goes into place. Wait until all the thousands of major businesses who wrote the healthcare law lower people down to 25 hours a week instead of 40 so they get out of the Obamacare. Now, it'll show an uptick in employment because they're going to count people working extra jobs as new jobs. But you're not going to have as much money. And it doesn't matter, though. You can just get starry-eyed and go, but I got Obama in. He loves me. He hates the rich people. U.S. economy unexpectedly contracts in fourth quarter. The average person's getting hundreds of dollars more out of their paycheck every month, taken out of their paychecks. Some estimates are as high as $200 for people making like $30,000 a year. I mean, this is the difference between getting enough groceries. And then people love their servitude, though, because they've been dumbed down. And it just goes on here. It just goes on here with the headlines. U.S. debt headed towards 200% of GDP, even after fiscal cliff deal. Think about that. Think about how crazy that is. The debt yearly will be 200% of GDP. That means you're making, let's say, $50,000 a year, and your debt is $100,000. Are you going to be in a good position? No, you're going to be a debt slave who was put into this position. And it makes me so angry to now see our country's credit rating being devalued, just like they've done to European nations like Greece. And when they're done, that's where we're going to be. And they'll be up there promising more government, more taxes to give to people who had their factories and jobs shipped overseas and their jobs here destroyed with red tape, with the streets teeming with paramilitary police, checkpoints, gun owners are terrorists, and the government then hiring, not just putting the welfare folks on welfare, now recruiting them as social workers, spies, and enforcers. All right, we're going to your phone calls. Again, Alex Jones here if you just joined us. Last night, I listened to a little bit of the rebroadcast of the show via the streams, the audio streams at prisonplanet.com. I clicked on them. And I was listening to my 15-minute rant towards the end of the third hour about the plan to fully convert our society over to an automated, technocratic technocracy. That's in the words of Zbigniew Brzezinski back in the 70s. In one of his books I read, I forget all the titles of them. I think it was The Technotronic Age. Point is that they planned all this, and you got to hand it to them. What they envisioned 30, 40, 50 years ago, they did. I mean, I read stuff Bertrand Russell wrote, Nobel Prize winner, was it for literature, wrote in the 30s. And I mean, it's what's happening now. Take Aldous Huxley. He wrote in 1932, Brave New World. And then, of course, he gave a speech in 61, 62 before he died at Berkeley. It's online. You can go listen to it. Just type Aldous Huxley's Berkeley speech, where he said, this book is what I believe would really happen being in the highest levels of scientific intelligentsia growing up in London. And, of course, his brother founded UNESCO at the UN, which is the real head of the UN. Julian Huxley, and I cover it in the Endgame. It's just, this is not my opinion. And I go back to this caller who was calling about how they're replacing their Air Force base with drones in Arkansas, and he just said, yeah, they're getting rid of the, or I guess it's Army base, it was A-10s, and he just hung up sounding depressed. And I realized if you just tune in and you hear all this, you either think it's crazy, because it is crazy, but I'm not the one doing it. I know it sounds crazy. Reality's crazy. Truth is stranger than fiction has been said a billion times. And I don't go over all this just to demoralize people. I do it so people know about it, so that we're not compartmentalized, and so we can see through the wall next to us, and then through the next wall, and realize we're all in this together. Man, I don't care if you're some foolish cop running an illegal checkpoint I pull up to, and it's happened. I'm not even mad at you anymore. I'm mainly frustrated because I know the whole program, basically. I know how you're programmed. I know how you're compartmentalized, and if I throw a fit and start yelling at you, it's because I'm sick of it. It'd be like if I was trying to get out of a burning house, and I came to the door, and you're there going, I'm not going to let you out. And I'm like, do you see the fire and the smoke? No, I don't, conspiracy theorist. I'm like, listen, I don't even know what to say anymore. They're unplugging our power plants. They're shutting our entire industry down. They're writing books and laws and white papers about it. They're evil. They're evil. I want to stop them. Don't you care? People say, what do we do? And, you know, I guess that's the point we've reached, is there's so many criminals in so many positions of power, and then so many yes men and women beneath them. And I guess that's why they're so confident to now just be out in the open with so much of this. I mean, our country, they are trying to hold us under the water. And then somebody else walks along and says, hey, it looks like you're trying to drown that person. Oh, no, I'm trying to help get them out of the water. Sure looks like you're holding their head under. And then I walk over and pick up their notebook. Says here, you plan to drown them here today. You know, you wrote you were going to do this. Oh, no, I'm not doing that. And they're holding them under. Oh, okay, well, see you later, Bob. Guess have fun with what you're doing. Then later I'll walk back by and there's a dead body floating. And I see Bob later and he goes, oh, no, he's not dead. He's just relaxing. He's got gills. Walk back by 2 days later, there's buzzards over on the side of the water eating the dead body. Oh, no, he's not dead. He's been liberated. I mean, you have to be crazy to buy in to what these people are doing. And it just blows me away to see them totally dismantling our entire country. And they're legalizing the illegal aliens as a way to fix the economy. And again, nothing against the people that are here. I know most of these people are hardworking, smart folks who come from a great tyranny. The problem is by the time they vote, over 90% in the polls and studies out there, you can look it up, vote for socialism because they see the government as their friend because it told them they were their friend. When they're really brought here to be brought into the system, inculcated, and to get government services to be new dependents. And the illegals becoming citizens, on average, will vote to take our guns, and they will vote to collectivize, and they will vote as long as they get a goodie from the government. Same thing with the domesticated American people. And conservatives and libertarians say, well, things will collapse. You're idiots. They're not idiots. The power structure is set up to consolidate the control as we collapse. And look, I know I talk about this ad nauseum, but I will not apologize for it. In closing, and I'm going to your calls, so I'm listening to the show last night, to about 20 minutes of it or so, just dialing in on the iPhone app, sitting there with my smartphone laying in bed at 10 at night or whatever it was. And I'm listening to the end of the third hour where I'm ranting about the technocracy, and I'm angry at myself because there's all these other points I should have made, and I could have if I was calm, and I'm thinking about it all. But then I listened to the old guy calling in from Arkansas at the end of the call, sounding just bummed out. And that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to get you to become aware of what's going on. Because here's the deal. I'm pro-technology. The problem is the architecture of the way technology is being rolled out through federal and global regulations in concert with the 15 or so major technology companies is to put backdoor Trojan horses in to control and track everything we do outside of law. And that's why there's new articles out about all the wireless devices and computers have security flaws, backdoors. No matter what company it is, these are built in. How'd that happen? They're designed for the NSA, for the police, for Google, to break into your computer. Google got caught 2 years ago, driving around with cars all over the world, hacking your computers, but they weren't hacking them. They had the keys. They are the NSA. And again, they're building this whole technocracy to phase out humanity. We are obsolete. And in the words of the global technocrats, well, I say the tyrants are obsolete. And this is a huge power trip for them to be building this huge program, to have envisioned this huge program. And their response is, you know, if you're reading this, because it's in so many of their books and white papers, and you're thinking it's immoral, notice that no one's opposing us because they're dumb animals. And then they built a system to make people act like dumb animals from birth. The television, the dumbing down, the chemicals. It's so diabolical. And it's all for full control. And to put this into full control, I mean, again, I talk about smart meters 10 years ago. More than 10 years ago with engineers and people. I mean, I would have retired engineers on who were young, who had left these companies. I mean, a lot of you heard the interviews warning about, I mean, Tex Mars, who's an engineer, Air Force officer, scientist, you know, best-selling books ever on robots. I guess a technology futurist for the Air Force before he became a space and aeronautics professor at UT. I read his book, Project Lucid, like in '95 when it came out. And it was about the smart meters and microchips and smart dust and RFID. And then, you know, I later heard people a decade later breaking the news. I mean, this is all very old stuff. And you warn people about this. And they go, oh, that's never going to happen. You know, my laptop isn't watching me. I mean, I've had family years ago, 10 years ago at my house. And they'd say, why is your laptop computer covered? Why do you have a piece of tape over it? You know, the built-in camera. When they were first starting to do that, I'd say, because they watch you. Oh, yeah, they watch me. Now it's just all admitted. You know, it's public. See how far we've come? And I know I'm ranting. I'll go to your calls. It's just that all this evil is already there. And denying it only gives it power. And now that you're not in denial, I don't want you to get scared. I want you to get aggressive, because we can educate people. There can be a huge turning against this, a flipping. And it's starting to happen. And people can just refuse this. You know, women are standing up to the smart meters because at an instinctive level, they know it's dangerous and bad. And they know that all the new appliances dial into it. And they're wondering why every new appliance they buy has smart meter wireless pickups in it. And your TV does, and your computer does. And they admit they're using it to track everything you do and even controlling your thermostat. And they're doing tests. Women are sitting there in their houses watching the thermostat change. And they call the power company and they go, we're just doing some tests. Yeah, some tests to see if you go along with it. I mean, it's so diabolical. The government's watching you. They're molesting you at the airports. They're controlling your thermostat. And folks, this is just the beginning. So again, the people at the other end of these computers are very bad. And their plan is to build an electronic prison around you for your orderly death. And I know that sounds incredible, but it's on record that they plan to do this. And I'm begging all of you to realize none of you are safe. They're already attacking you all. They're spraying stuff. It's in the food. It's in the water. Everybody's sick. Even when they're taking vitamins and minerals to fight it, people like that are doing okay. Those that aren't are walking dead. The cancer rates are exploding. This is real. Let's go ahead and talk to D.C. in Ohio. D.C., you're on the air.
Hey, Alex, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right, brother.
All right. Hey, first-time caller and a first-time listener of the show. I'm an ex-Navy during the first Gulf War, when Papa Bush was even talking about the New World Order at that time. I'm an ex-mortgage broker when the government was giving away loans to everybody with bad credit, so we'd all get in houses before the stock market crashed. And now, a father of three, I'm a byproduct of the economic disaster of the middle class. I'm on food stamps. I can't afford gas. I have to take public transportation. And now I'm just super concerned about everything that's going on with the billions of dollars taken out of the Federal Reserve, the Army tactics that are going on in Miami and in Houston, and it's got to stop. We got to fight the fight.
Well, I mean, I just want all the bureaucrats and everybody else to know. I mean, they're all on a power trip, just like the Obama supporters. It's so infantile. It's like when you're 3 years old and you know you feel secure around your dad, and your dad's talking to the neighbor, and you're standing there by your dad's leg, and you look over and lean your cheek up against your dad, and just, oh, my daddy's so tough, my daddy's so strong. Everybody who's had a father remembers that feeling. That's the same feeling government lovers get, is they just look at you with this satisfied look. I see it in the cops beating up people with video cameras on the street or going in people's houses without warrants. The cops just have this satisfied look. There's nothing you're going to do. I'm back. I got the people back at the headquarters backing me. And it's a satisfaction. Well, I want you to know something. The people running this are killing you and your family, you dumb government bureaucrats. You're walking dead. They're eugenicists. They're killing you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I've been pulled over so many times in the last 2 years because of the scanners that they put on the police vehicles to scan you. They could scan hundreds of license plates as they go down the street, and then anybody who has a warrant, they pull over, or anybody who has priors, they pull over, you know, ask you to do a breathalyzer. For what, you know?
And again, and again, they act like it's not there. When I pulled through the Border Patrol checkpoint at Alpine, when I went down to, I'm going to play this today. We've had it ready for a week, but I've been so busy. I'll either air it today or on the nightly news tonight. But the point is, I pull up the Border Patrol checkpoint. They obviously know who I am. They're all looking. I've been through there before, other checkpoints, and they're all about to pull me over to the secondary search area where I always refuse. And he goes, why are you videotaping me? And I said, you're videotaping me. And they're like, no, we're not. And I'm like, really? What are all these video cameras? And the guy smiles. It's like a mind game. And yeah, they've got these robot cameras scanning us. But listen, you know the secret of patriots now? Patriots are now going to Mexico or buying Mexican cars with Mexican plates. I'm thinking about doing it. I'm going to be honest. And you become God. They don't scan you. They don't read you. Nothing. I'm serious. I'm thinking about changing my name to like Juan Gonzalez and getting a Mexican car, folks. I'm not joking. I mean, I may do this as an experiment, legally change my name, still be Alex Jones in the air, but legally have the name Juan Gonzalez, and I'm going to get Mexican cars, and I'm God. I mean, I will be God level at that point until they fully bring the U.S. down and then close the trap on everybody they brought in. But what is that, 5-10 years? Who knows? I mean, can you believe that illegal aliens are God? And I'm serious. I've advised my crew, because you try to stay outside the system, you know, your license expired, you try to stay out of their grid. They attack citizens with a savage hate. But let me tell you, you get the Mexican plates, God level. They're now putting out fake Mexican plates that people are using, and the scanners don't touch them, and the cops leave you alone, because they've been told that's there to bring down the economy, drive down the wages, and vote to take the guns. That's a God. Leave a God alone. Well, I declare myself an Olympian God. I declare myself Juan Gonzalez. And I am God. I mean, I am God of the police now. I can start drinking and driving. I can start not having insurance. It's over. What do you think of that plan?
That's an awesome plan, and I'm a lucky one because I can't afford the smart TVs and the smart computers and all the smart technology that's out there.
Oh, yeah. 10 years ago, Mercedes had the thumb scanners to get in your car. You pay to be a slave. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all right. And look what the Superdome is named after, Mercedes-Benz Superdome now. And I'm concerned about the Super Bowl coming up because both of those Army drills were held. One in Houston, A-10 leads right to, or Interstate 10 leads right to New Orleans, and the same with Miami, or coming over from Florida. Well, the other road coming right in there is the Interstate 10, and they still have all those housing there from Katrina that was a man-made disaster.
Yeah. Hey, do you like the Juan Gonzalez show?
I love KC. I love the Juan Gonzalez show.
And again, all I got to do, there's Mexican cars everywhere. I mean, the parking lot out here has got a couple. One of the guys that has this big scientific company next door, he's a white guy. I've talked to him. He's not from Mexico. He's got a brand new Mercedes, Mexican plates. I'm telling you, man, it's the new diplomatic immunity. I can become a god. By the way, if you're not from Texas or a southwestern state, we're not joking. We were just talking. The illegals can drive without catalytic converters, no inspections, no insurance, no registration, and are just left alone. And I think that's good. I mean, I think citizens should have the book thrown at them and be stomped into the ground. I support the New World Order. I think it's good they're shutting down our power plants. Our GDP's contracting. We're about to have double the deficit every year than money we even bring in. Hey, what happened in Greece is a great thing. We're going there. Government loves us. I think it's great Obama raised taxes on poorest Americans and their payroll taxes. And I think it's good everybody's going to get cut to basically part-time now because he loves you and the government cares about you. So let's turn our guns in and trust them. Don't be an extremist. Thomas, you're on the air. You say you support Obama or did support him. You're a WLUV 1520 listener there in Chicago. Go ahead, Thomas.
Good morning, Alex. How's it going today?
I'm pretty good. I just realized I'm about to become above the law. I'm about to... Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No problem. I definitely would listen to the Juan Gonzalez show. You know, I think that'd be a God-level radio show where we bow, kind of like a Muslim bows towards Mecca. We bow towards the radio. We'd all be immune from all the speed traps and traffic tickets and parking tickets. Yeah, see, we have a big old fiesta. Why not, Juan Gonzalez?
Hey, I think all Americans can do it. That's the answer. Of course, I can't go to Mexico and be above the law or go there and have my kids paid for with free birth and stuff, but that's okay. But would Mexico accept me, though, if I had fake ID? See, Mexico has consular matricula centers set up to give fake IDs out. Would they accept my fake ID? I think they'd put me in a dirt-bottom jail, but well, that's not fair. Why can't I get everything free down there?
Well, Alex, the reason why I'm calling is because I was a former Obama supporter. I even went to the inauguration, 2008. And now that I look back at it, it was just years of disdain with President Bush. And I didn't know too much about the left-right paradigm at that point. So it's kind of like Chicago Bears versus Green Bay Packers. I root for one team, my team's winning or my team's down. And, you know, I can admit that to myself as a man that I got caught up right in that trap. Now when you start to peel away the onion skin, you start to dig a little deeper, you realize Democrat and Republican, two sides of the same coin, the good Jordan Maxwell quote. And, you know, I've done a lot of awakening in the last 6 years, mostly with your help, and then you can't do it on your own. The person, the individual, like myself, needs to go read for themselves, do the research on their own, and that's when you truly start to become awakened because you feel like you're doing it on your own. You're not just listening to what someone's dictating to you. That's when the stuff really starts to open up.
And again, people say, well, are you saying vote for Romney? No, it's to realize it's all fixed at that level and that it's the same globalists. It's just the understanding that it's a scam. And they know people are going to wake up to that, so they want to get everybody dependent. So even though you wake up, you're still dependent on them so they can run your life.
Correct. That's absolutely correct. And like the Democratic Party is like the biggest political Ponzi scheme because you got all these 18, 19-year-olds coming out of high school. They want, do-gooders, just like I was, a blue-blooded liberal. And then by the time you hit your 30s and you figure it all out, they don't need you anymore because they got a million more 18-year-olds. The big Democratic Ponzi scheme. And I just want to say to all the people that are smugging it up, all you fake liberals out there hugging each other, the Beyoncés, all the celebrities of the world up there yucking it up with Obama, you make me sick because there's nothing liberal about you. You're just control freak, fascist pigs in liberal clothing.
That's right. God bless you. Great points. All right, constitutional lawyer Bruce Fein was going to be joining us in the third hour. He just called us. He is stuck in court fighting a constitutional law issue on state secrets. He will be on tomorrow. That happens a lot with lawyers and Congress people. Congressional advisor, Ron Paul advisor, Bruce Fein. We are going to have a guest on that we had on last week because the time went so quick, so we can clear the phones out at that point and take calls, people that have questions for Jim Garrow, who has that high-level military contact, a, quote, living legend from the military, who says the military is training to confiscate our firearms. I mean, that's the litmus test. Will you fire on Americans? Well, that's publicly in the training stuff now. So, but the fact that he's a respectable guy and this individual wanted to conduit this info through him, he has some more info for us today as well. And China in the New World Order. But right now, let's go back to your calls. Rich in New Jersey, you're on the air. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Hey, Juan, how are are you? I'm a long-time listener, been with you since July of 2002, and I commend you for your great work, sir.
You bet. If people just joined us, I'm now Juan Gonzalez, so I can be exempt from all the taxes and regulations and drive and not be pulled over for no reason like a U.S. citizen.
Hey, Alex, we're 4 years away from the next inauguration of another selected president of the United States, but I think there's no time better than now to call for a Patriot plan for presidential election reform. I think, you know, we need a comprehensive look at the way elections are financed, the whole primary system, and you've spoken to a lot of people over the years. You probably have a lot more ideas than I do. You know, what's your take on that?
First off, people need to have an awakening and realize whoever the system pushes in the primaries from both big parties, Republican and Democrat, is going to be a globalist. When Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan were the biggest contributors to both guys, and most of Obama's policies were actually written up by Mitt Romney. I mean, give me a break. Mitt Romney said some good things, but he was a globalist pawn. And so we have to realize that. We get 60% turnouts for national elections on average, about 8% local. Locals where you can still get in and kind of block the federal system and do some good things. We need to get foreign money out of politics. The globalists only want to pass campaign finance to restrict the small individual while empowering the offshore globalist. And we need to get integrity in the vote again. Most of the country has fraudulent electronic voting machines in place now. And there's a lot of evidence. I've had top election fraud people on, like Bev Harris. Clearly the fraud was against Perry. I mean was against having one of those mental Romney, Mitt Romney. I'm thinking about Perry because he's saying, let's give people back their unspent tax money, which is another fraud I'm going to talk about later. But all of that is going on. And really it's just realizing this system's bad news. But it's also, hey, don't shut down our power plants while China gets to have 3 new ones a week. Hey, don't let illegal aliens be above the law. Hey, you know, just point out the corruption and say no to it and get good sheriffs elected that won't enforce unconstitutional laws. I mean, it's a cornucopia of things, but the biggest thing is recognizing fundamentally this country's been usurped and taken over by foreign corporate interest.
In the spirit of 1776, then, Alex, I would like to see you guys, you know, all the people, all you leaders in this movement, you know, draft a document to get this thing going that we do need to get the money out of politics. You know, how about $500 per American? No more corporate financing of these campaigns, and real reform of the primary, like one or two shots at it during the election season. We don't, you know, I'm in New Jersey, Alex. When the time came for me to cast a vote in the primary, the candidate was already selected. Our illusion of democracy is a big joke here on the East Coast.
Well, you're right. It's an illusion almost everywhere now, and the corruption's just getting more intense. But morally and culturally, if we reject... See, mainline Republicans are saying we've accepted globalism, we've accepted socialism, Republicans have to get with the program to get back in office. Well, then they're just the Democratic Party. There's no point to even elect them. But that itself is a giant PSYOP hoax. We'll be right back. Well, since he first joined us last week, Dr. James Garrow, Ph.D., his information has gone viral, just millions of views on YouTube of our interview and Gary Francie's interview with him on his news program. So the good news is this information is getting out to people. So I wanted to get him back on, also take some phone calls as well. Again, I'm Alex Jones, your host. If you just joined us, the question, of course, is Obama has posed to top brass as the litmus test. Will you fire on U.S. citizens? That is the litmus test. Obama is saying to the top brass, will you fire on U.S. citizens? And again, we already have this in the new Army training manual from 2010 that I'll go over the numbers for, so you can pull it up at army.mil. You've already seen the drills out there where the military practices shooting large crowds of Americans. That's going on in the news almost every day now. The urban warfare training. You saw the gun confiscation in Katrina. You saw ABC News where they said, yeah, if you don't turn them in, we shoot an American. And the police chief says all the guns will be taken, no one will be allowed to be armed. And they're training the military to engage us under Brigade Homeland. I mean, that was in the Army Times 3.5 years ago. I've had colonels on from the Army admitting, they were doing gun confiscation drills in Arcadia, Iowa, that they now run Army checkpoints in California, Tennessee. But a top retired general, a quote, living military legend, and there's been another military legend, wink, wink, General Boykin, former head of Special Forces, has come out and said our government's arming al-Qaeda in Libya and Syria. We're going into a police state. Our country's in deep trouble. He's also in the film Behold a Pale Horse that we sell with Charlie Daniels as the host of at InfoWarsStore.com. That's a side issue, but General Boykin is in that. I'm guessing it's General Boykin. Our guest will not say that's who told him this, but this is a credible guy. That's why we have Dr. Garrow back on. But I wanted him to recap, go over the basics of the gear up towards despotism. I mean, who can deny that? This is really out in the open now with our guest, and now he can also make some other points that he didn't get to last week and some new information. And, of course, he also runs pinkpagodagirls.com. He's been over in China since 1968 with English language schools. And some of his staff, the government was trying to forcibly abort their kids, also kill already born babies. And so he started a group in 2000 that saved over 45,000 Chinese girls. And I can certainly vouch for him because even a member of my crew has adopted Chinese girls out of China and is well aware of the pioneering work of Pink Pagoda Girls, the group he founded, because they'll die if they're not adopted. You understand? They kill them. They kill them. So just amazing. And, of course, there's more people wanting to adopt kids every year in this country than there are even abortions. But they never tell the young women at Planned Parenthood, there's Christian groups that will pay for your whole pregnancy, pay for your medical bill, and depending on the group, give you $20,000 to $50,000 after you have the baby for not killing it. You see those billboards up everywhere, abortion, need alternatives. That's some of the Christian groups. And then they even try to get you a job afterwards. Wow. So you want to go have an abortion that doubles your chances of cervical and uterine cancer. I'm going off into left field as I always do now. Major studies have shown, per abortion. Or get paid to have the baby and not have it killed. Oh, but Planned Parenthood won't tell you that because their goal is to kill. Their eugenicist, Margaret Sanger. They want to, quote, kill the black weeds. They were founded for that, but moved on to everybody else, of course. But, it doesn't matter. They can get somebody up on MSNBC saying we got to deal with the white crackers. So you get some street lingo going out there. Because, you talk about getting the white crackers. That's cool. That's liberal. But, hey, let's not chop up the babies. Shut up, racist. Okay, let's go to our guest, Pink Pagoda Girls, a founder, Dr. James Garrow, Ph.D. Doc, recap the intel you've got, the other info. Tell people what we're facing here. You've got the floor.
Well, Alex, as you know, and I stated last week, the difficulty is that this is sounding more and more true. I was a little doubtful myself. I have to be honest with you. But more and more of the evidence coming forward since we were putting it out to the public, and of course you've known this for quite a while. But it's just so scary what is happening. And as you see the march down the roadway to despotism, it is, to me, it's just mind-boggling. But, this senior Army officer, retired, who came forward and asked me if I would help him put the word out. He was quite frightful of what was going on in America and where things were going in terms of the fact that the military were now going to be asked to take action against the American public. And for doing what? For rioting? No, nothing like that. It had to do with a scenario of, would you in fact fire on people who had been in possession of arms, had refused to allow confiscation of those arms or to lay down those arms, which was, their right to hold under the Constitution, the Second Amendment. You're well aware of that. But now, would you as an officer order your troops to fire if the commander-in-chief, who you have taken an oath to actually obey as commander, would you obey that order? So many have said no. I think it's going to come out fairly soon that many people are saying no. I've had so many phone calls, Alex, I got to tell you, between interviews and all of that. I've had so many people phoning me, current military and a retired military saying thank you for bringing it out.
Well, we just want to thank you. Now, listen, have you talked to the retired, quote, military legend since he wanted you to warn people about this? Because, again, I can separately figure out who it is myself. I can separately, research the information and know that it's already being set up. I mean, it's publicly being set up. Have you talked to that individual anymore?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. It was a very short conversation. He called me and just said thank you. And that was the extent of it. So if you're going into, did you ask him to come forward again? No, I didn't get that chance. In fact, all he wanted to do was say thank you. That's it.
So he just wanted you to get the info out, and he thinks he's going to be safe having you do it instead of him coming out.
Yes. Yes, very much. He believes that what he's done is quite brilliant from what I know of this person and what we talked about, how it was going to come out and why me and everything. And to me, it seemed to be not as if he was a coward in any way. And people have said that, and sent me messages, that, oh, he has to stand up, he has to come forward. Actually, no, he doesn't. Watch, Alex, where things go in the near future, and I think you'll appreciate that this man was right on with what he did. Let's face it, he was not a dull-witted somebody who is unable to strategize. Quite a brilliant man.
Sure. Now, expanding on that, I never implied he was a coward. I have seen some people say that, but after you were on last week, I began to think, actually, it makes sense because Smedley Butler, when he exposed the Nazi fascist plan, working with the Bushes, Prescott Bush at the time, but he was just mid-level in it, and a bunch of other people, to have a fascist takeover in the 30s, he went to Congress first, and then that's how they rolled it up. And I've been noticing now that, did you see former Senator Hagel say to Obama, you can't trust the military, you're not in control of the Pentagon, they're not doing what we say? Because I know the military over and over again has actually stopped some of these wars that a lot of people say would lead to World War III possibly. I mean, does that tie into what you're saying we should look for in the future?
Well, Alex, certainly people are getting it, aren't they? If this guy says, this to Obama by way of warning, it's a good warning. And, the military folks, I've had so many of the rank and file phone me up and say, you know what, we would never turn our guns. Are you kidding? If the officers said that to us, we'd turn them on them. And that's the message that's kind of going out there. Obama does not have the support of the military at all. He thinks he can command and control. But the man's living in la-la land.
Well, he certainly is. Dr. James Garrow, Ph.D., joins us from Toronto, Canada right now, runs some of the largest English-speaking training schools in China, and has saved 45,000-plus little Chinese girls that would have been killed or used in medical experiments. I'm not kidding. It's very macabre. I want to talk some about how they kill those little girls before you leave us so we can put a human face on this and not just have it be a statistic. But I've had countless military. In fact, I could scrub the phone calls right now, but we're going to go to them later, so I'm not going to, and open the phones, but we'll do that after we take some of these calls, and say, military, call in. Are you being trained to take our guns? Are you being trained for killing Americans? And they'll call in and say, yes, indeed, we are. But again, I have the Army training manual. In fact, I'll pull it up here in a moment for radio and TV viewers. I mean, this is the new mission. And we're hearing now, we got to have troops on the streets and all of this. But I only see that serving to wake up the police and military.
Oh, amen. That's exactly what's happening. That's the result. There's been a total miscalculation on the part of Obama and crew who don't have a military mindset. They don't understand what loyalty really is, and the fact that the military are loyal to the American people. They really are. They believe in the role of being a protector to the American public. And they've sworn an oath to the Constitution. But listen, who's behind the Constitution? It is we, the people. Nothing short of that. That's it. And so bottom line, these people are understanding it. There's a huge, as I said again, I'm going to say it, it's a huge miscalculation. And I mean, if there were people who had bad intent looking to control through the military the country, this would be certainly a way to march toward that. But Mr. Obama has thought that he would be the one that would be able to have the loyalty of the troops. And I'm sorry, the troops are not stupid.
I want to find out if the retired military legend, the general, talked about false flags. Is he concerned from his sources about the globalists staging something to show they would buy this? All right, we're going to your calls coming up in the next segment. Dr. James Garrow, Ph.D., is our guest, and he's relaying whistleblower information to us, which is obvious with all the movements out in front of us and the training that's going on. Continuing with talking to the military people that have been contacting you and other information, what else do you think is important to relay to people that we didn't talk about last week or that people aren't aware of this week? Because you know, these reports that you're putting out, that I'm putting out, are again, really getting picked up online. People are paying attention to it. And people are really concerned. You know, there's not much we can do about corrupt politicians now or globalists selling us out, but look at all the bullets sold out in almost every place in the U.S. Look at 10 million guns a month being sold. Previous record, 5 million last year. I mean, the system better know people don't trust them anymore.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm glad you've given me the opportunity to do this. There is a warning, a real caution. When people ask me, you know, what is it that we can do to safeguard ourselves? Well, I'm going to warn you right now. Let me read something, too. And this is coming from the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. This is what the counselors, psychiatrists, the doctors use to have a look at you as to whether you're crazy or not. I'm just throwing out a crazy word there, but there it is. And here's what I've put online. Get ready for the new onslaught of insight. We'll call it insight from Obamacare, the new mental illness that will fight itself into DSM-5. Since the late 90s, DSM-4 has been that manual of diagnostics. So now we have a new one coming out in May. Well, we have a precursor here of what's going to be in it. Whatever it defines, it'll allow the government to lock you up for an indeterminate length of time, label you as something which will result in your inability to own or possess a firearm, and allow the police unlimited search and seizure of your domicile or your mode of conveyance. You'll not be allowed a security clearance, a driver's license, or pilot's license. You'll not be allowed to serve in the military or law enforcement. You'll not be allowed to work in government service, schools, daycare centers, hospitals, or medical clinics. You'll be restricted in your movements and be forced by law to carry an implanted device on or in your person. You will be restricted in your ability to do financial transactions, to buy or sell goods or services. Now, my bottom line is this. You'll now know how a Jew felt under the Nazi regime. But here's how they're going to do it, Alex. In the manual, DSM-5, here's what we have, DSM-5. There's something called a general anxiety disorder, GAO. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to play doctor for a second here. Alex, when you knew you were going to have me on the program, were you a little bit anxious the first time because you really didn't know me?
Yes, I am always anxious when we're interviewing a new guest and vetting their information.
Okay, Alex, you've now given me authority to report on you because anxiety can be, at the extreme, a mental illness. And so now I've got to start writing out stuff. I'm going to lead you. Normally,
and they go on and say, do you ever get upset? Well, everybody gets angry. Well, that's mental illness.
Well, Alex, let me ask you something. Do you believe that a few thousand years ago there was a guy who was killed? He was murdered. He died. His body was buried. And then 3 days later, he was brought to life again. Do you believe that?
Well, I know that, and I believe that. And it was Janet Reno said on 60 Minutes that if you believe in Jesus Christ and that he's real and his second coming, you are mentally ill. And this has always been their plan. They're going to say we're mentally ill.
Yeah, I'm going to take you through. I'm just going check, you know, down the list here. But do you believe that there is a spirit that inhabits you and it enables you to get guidance from another unseen spirit?
Yes.
God, you do. Oh, I just put another check mark here. So there's a whole list of things that are going to be asked of you. All of it is to show that you are, in fact, incapable.
And by the way, you're not joking. And it's not just me that gets angry and stuff. Mainline people like Larry Pratt, they call him insane. And they say on the Democratic websites, you're insane. You shouldn't have guns. We're going to get your guns. You're insane because you don't want socialism. And it's all about how they control the narrative. They decide what is. I mean, this is part of their psychosis, is that they're in charge.
And you need to be institutionalized because you're non-compos mentis. You're not in charge of your faculties. It's obvious. You believe in some guy who dies and comes up, gets up out of the grave, and and you get a spirit guiding you. Hello, it's lunacy. So that's how they're going to do this to you. All of it to take your guns.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. Of course. Does
it sound like Nazi Germany, sir?
It does. Stay there. We're right back. By the way, in health news, it's up on Infowars.com, the video, the interview. Dorian Yates, 6-time Mr. Olympian, one of the most famous bodybuilders in history. I guess only next to Schwarzenegger. Even I know that. I don't even follow bodybuilding. Has come out against fluoride and talked about how deadly it is in the water supply. And that's good, because then people like that will get to the bodybuilders. And then famous soccer players have come out against fluoride. And then people wake up there. And then a teenage girl in Mississippi spends 3 years exposing a deadly, very toxic chemical in Gatorade, linked to all sorts of problems cumulatively. And now Gatorade's pulling it out. I mean, there is an example of solutions. And the government is going to try to get more power. And then sometimes you're going to get real tyrants in charge that want to go for it all. And that's why we need to say, no, warrantless checkpoints aren't to keep us safe. It's to set up a police state. And now they're saying the warrantless checkpoints aren't for Al-Qaeda. Now they're for gun owners. And everything our guest was announcing, I had to really bite my tongue to not interrupt a bunch, about how we're going to have to wear ankle bracelets if we're found mentally ill, how they can just announce it now under these new federal edicts. They're saying, and the Soviets and the Nazis did this, Hitler, the first people they killed, had been grabbed and ordered mentally ill by psychiatrists. And just like in China, they said, oh, your kid's got a club foot, we're going to kill your 2-year-old. They would take them into the doctor's office and then say, oh, they died of a heart attack. There's actually documentaries on this. They killed hundreds of thousands before they even started arresting political dissidents. And it's eugenics. It's like, why are we seeing the same thing? Because Hitler didn't get it from Germany. He got it from England and from the United States that developed modern eugenics. And then he took it to an extreme level and, quote, discredited it, so the Journal of Eugenics switched over to the Journal of Population and things like that. And I covered that in our film, Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement, available at InfoWarsStore.com. So important to see that. So important to show it to your church. Now, expanding here, and then we're going back to our guest. Beyond Tangy Tangerine and some of the other amazing things that have just basically every vitamin, mineral, trace element, huge amounts of vitamin C, huge amounts of the B vitamins. They did a big Clemson study that they've been doing for several years. You've got to go read this. It's up at Infowars.com from Yahoo Finance, and we'll punch this up and post it on top of it. It's in the health section of Infowars.com. Video, pharmacist exposes deadly antidepressants. But then under that is the Yahoo Finance. AL International announces results of longevity clinical studies performed by Clemson University. Yahoo Finance, they took cancer cells from human cancer in the colon that's just exploding because of all the toxins and chemicals, and of course it mutates the cells. And the longevity, beyond Tangy Tangerine, they tested some of the others as well. You can go read the results in a scientific study. Went in and did not hurt the healthy cells and killed the unhealthy cancer cells. Now, the reason they knew when they did this, probably what was going to happen, is Linus Pauling got a Nobel Prize for this, folks. I don't know, was it 40 years ago? But it got suppressed, so they're just redoing these studies. But it is the best stuff out there. That's why I promote it. InfoWarsHealth.com. You can sign up and get free shipping there at InfoWarsHealth.com on the 400. It's 300 and something. They're adding a bunch more. It's going to be over 400 of the best products out there. The Pollen Burst Plus, all of it. The essential oils, it's all there. The best stuff. I only promote the best. And your purchase then funds our radio show, the news operation, and what we're doing. InfoWarsHealth.com. If you have any questions or comments or want to order, right there on the site at InfoWarsHealth.com. You can also call 888-789-9277. And when you call that number, we'll put it up on screen one more time, and I'll plug that for folks, 888-789-9277. If you want to sign up to be a new customer and sign up to be a distributor and to get discounts or just order the products, it's right there at InfoWarsHealth.com. Or to just be a distributor, InfoWarsTeam.com. Okay, that said, look, I got calls all over the map, but our guests can obviously speak to any of these. But after these 5 or 6 callers, because the Genesis phone board only takes 6 callers. Ours can take 100 at a time. But as soon as you hear a caller hang up, that's your chance to call in. We're going to only open it for military who have been training for gun confiscation or military officers. I mean, it's majors and up that are getting this question, and I've confirmed it. But again, most of these guys say, no, I can confirm it. You know, look at this manual, look at that manual. In fact, I keep forgetting. Will you guys type in Army Field Manual gun confiscation? Because I want to give them the dash number and all that, and I forgot to do it during the break. We've written 20 articles or more on it, but I want to give that out again. People want to go look it up. But after we take these 5 or 6 calls that are on the phone board, that'll be your chance to call in 800-259-9231 for military or police are now training with them in gun confiscation. You've got all these drills that used to happen a few times a year, now thousands of times a year, checkpoints, helicopter assaults, Houston, Miami, Chicago, all this week. I've sent the guys 2 years ago to Chicago where they practiced putting citizens in a sports stadium with foreign troops. And again, I've shot video where the Marines trained to put Americans in these facilities. Now, it doesn't mean they'll get away with it. You're not supposed to get scared and run and hide under a bridge because of this. You're supposed to go, hey, this isn't morally right. No, no, no. If you cower, see, the globalists hope you just get scared and shut up and go along with them. I'm looking for men and women who will go, no, we're going to stand up against this. And I want to go back to our guest, Dr. Jim Garrow, who, again, has one of the largest chains of English-speaking teaching schools in China since 2000, saved over 45,000 little Chinese baby girls who would have been killed after birth, which they're now promoting here. The big bioethics journal. Last year, people didn't believe it when we published an article linked to them saying, let's kill kids up to age 3 even if they're healthy. It took 3 days for mainstream media to pick it up saying it couldn't be true. And they called. It was a real study put out in their journal. We're going to get to that coming up. We're keeping a little bit in the next hour if you can do it because, again, constitutional lawyer Bruce Fein was stuck in court. He apologized. We appreciate him. He's on tomorrow. Talk about the constitutional attacks that are going on and how to strike back against it. But Dr. Jim Garrow is our guest right now. What about my point? Because I'm not a tough guy, but, you know, if tyranny's coming down on me, I know instinctively or in my spirit to say no and stand up against it. Now, if I can get out of the way, you know, short term, you know, sometimes I do try to back down. But it depends on, you know, what the gut level decision is. And I know giving into tyranny historically, intellectually, but also my gut tells me. My gut says you will not back down. In fact, it's the opposite. It's like I have absolutely no fear, which is like Ezekiel, you know, saying in the Bible, God, they're going to kill me, but it burns in my bones. I can't stop. I mean, it's the opposite of fear. It's not courage. I don't want to be thanked for what I do. I can't control myself. My whole gut, my spirit, my intellect, intellectually it confirms it. You stand up to moves to intimidate you and set up checkpoints and secretly arrest people and NDAA and all this. You don't get scared. But so many people email me and write me and go, what you say is true, but I'm scared. I've got ulcers. I'm an officer in the Army. I don't know what to do. And I don't know about that spirit of fear. You know, good. Thank God we know. Thank God people have spoken up. Thank God this has come out. Thank God. What do you say to those that don't get this and think, oh, my gosh, what's the point of knowing this? It's so negative. Isn't it positive to know so that we can contend and wrestle with this evil?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I would do with those people who aren't willing to listen? You're not responsible for them. You're really not. You're responsible for your own belief system, and then you're responsible for your own family. So, you know, very much like planning for anything else in life, you plan for the survival of yourself and your family. That's what you've got to do. That's what we're looking at. We're not just, this isn't theory now. These people are moving, they're making moves forward that will take away your freedom. They take away the guns. Remember, the first thing that the Germans did was declare that Jews were not quite people, and then the first people to lose the right to own a gun were the Jews. And, of course, that made them the easiest to be rounded up. But let's be careful here again. The caution should be think, plan, figure out your escape route, figure out what you will do when they come knocking on your door at night. Do you have somebody to back you up if that happens? Or are you just going to be a ready victim? They'll just march in your home and take you and your family, confiscate the guns, and take you and your family away. Do you have a plan for that? That's what you need to do. Let's start planning. And, I mean, there are people out there who are accused of being, you know, the crazies, the tinfoil hat kind of people, and conspiracy theorists. Well, you know, conspiring together, that's what law is all about. We make a social contract. We conspire together to come up with laws and a way to handle and control society. Well, this is going beyond that, and now they're going to handle and control us. Now, what are you going to do about it? What is going to be your plan for your family? I think you need to look to that first and foremost responsibility and get it very clear. Have it planned, know what you're going to do, know what you're going to do in the long term.
I agree with you, but my point is they won't get away with this if we simply challenge him. And, you know, folks have always said the archetypal image of the crazy guy is he's yelling. Well, we're yelling to get people out of their coma. Some people are smooth like you. Other people like myself get upset. I also sometimes am calm. But I found I've been successful, not on purpose. I didn't do this on purpose, by being upset sometimes to get people out of their learned helplessness, out of their mass Stockholm syndrome, out of their normalcy bias. Because, I mean, things have gotten so crazy. I want to read this quote. But if I say I will not mention him or speak any more in his name, his word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bones. I am weary holding it in. Indeed, I cannot. Because my uncle, about 15 years ago, I'm sitting across the coffee table from him. He's a big Bible scholar, probably listening right now, my mom's brother. Great guy, Vietnam vet, helicopter pilot, patriot, lived all over the world. And I said, you know, I can't help it when they death threaten me. I can't help it when they get in my face. I don't understand people that are afraid of the New World Order. I can't shut up. It's a burning. And then he quoted the scripture to me, which I'd never read. But, I mean, I just wish other people had the burning in their bones. I mean, I guess you're saying if someone's not called to fight evil, I guess that, I mean, you're saying just triage them?
No, I'm saying look to the first responsibility that you have, which is to your family. Make a plan for them. But make sure that your plan is thorough, that you understand they will come when you least expect it. They're not going to come in broad daylight. They'll come at night when you're asleep. They'll bang on your door when you're least prepared to react properly. That's when this is going to start to happen. They've already, you know, done the groundwork. They've got the evidence on you.
They did tests last year where Brandon Robb and all these Marines, honorably discharged officers, no criminal record, would mildly criticize Obama, and they would have the police come and mentally commit them. It's happened to a bunch of talk show hosts already last year.
Yeah, and look what they're saying. They're saying that anyone who's been a veteran, who's been overseas, comes back, you're immediately suspect of being a terrorist or a terrorist threat. And what's that about?
You mentioned Hitler. First, they went after a group who'd been demonized and unpopular, the Jews, but then they went after every group. You know, the famous quote of they went after the Jews, I wasn't a Jew, so I didn't stand up. They went after the Methodist, I wasn't a Methodist, I didn't stand up. I mean, by the end of it, the Nazis, my grandfather became an inventor because in Dallas growing up, he lived next door to a famous inventor who'd been involved inventing indoor refrigeration or taking those systems, indoor air conditioning. And this guy was a German immigrant. Since he was a little kid, but he spoke German, and my grandfather, you know, had a lot of German ancestors, so he spoke some German, you know, Germans that came into Texas, so they became friends. He worked with him some. The Germans extorted, he told me this story when I was a little kid, all the money out of that guy before and then right up to World War II, threatening to kill his family, and the guy wasn't Jewish. So, I mean, people that say, oh, the Nazis, you know, didn't really do all this stuff, baloney. And I'm telling you, it's the same organized crime system that we're now seeing unfold. I mean, this is a great danger.
Oh, amen. And the fact that you've been cautioning people for years, to me, is like, wow, You've been thinking ahead. You know, you've been, that's the problem, though. You're so far ahead of the curve of the reality of today. Like everyone's secure. We're snug as a bug in a rug. Things are working well. Society is great. We got power. We got water. We got gas in our car. We can go on holiday. We got money in the bank. We got a job. Yeah, well, wait until all of it is cut off. What's your plan? That's what I keep coming back to. Like, we're not talking about what my officer friend cautioned me on, but basically where he went with the whole scenario was, what will the public do when they finally pull the plug on everything? And
that's the deal. They're derating the banks. They're derating the country. They're saying we're going to go double the debt to our GDP. They're doing it on purpose to make us dependent. And what will happen when they drop the hammer? I guess they're going to say, do what you're told or starve to death. And I want people to know, when the globalists take down America, it's not going to be creeping anymore. They're gearing up for an all-out assault. And
Blitzkrieg, yeah. Blitzkrieg.
Absolutely. A lightning war. I mean, it's incredible against us. And, man, I tell you, folks, don't be afraid. Speak out now. I believe it's going to backfire. And they may back off. Here's the problem. They've committed to an economic collapse. They may not be able to stop. But I see every sign they're trying to just accelerate the collapse while posing as the savior.
Alex, you're absolutely right. The signs that I'm getting, and the word that I'm getting back, is that when I was told this that last Monday morning, that since we put it into the public view, look at the things that have happened. Bang, all of a sudden we've got, well, you know better what's going on. I don't know the list of things that are going on, but things are accelerating. I think what we've helped to do is push them through fear and the purchase of guns and ammo. That's the big thing that they weren't counting on. They didn't count that the American public would go in that direction. You know, what they were hoping for was that everyone would just, you know, everything business as usual. You know, it's only the government doing this, doing that. Obama, you know, the kindly father, the great smile. That he's not evil. He's not going to do anything to us. This is all for our good. Sounds very much like how Hitler was viewed as well. The night that's coming, and I keep saying it's night because actually Scripture talks about a night. It's not when you're ready for it. It's at night that they're going to come and this is all going to happen. It's in that night when you will need to be prepared. So what are you doing to protect your own family? What are you doing to network your neighborhood so that there is a group of people to protect one another? Because remember something, it's overwhelming force that they're being taught to use. Overwhelming force. What happened at Waco? And I bring up Waco as an example because here was overwhelming force, and in the end, they just brutalized and murdered all those women and children.
And then the military posed with the skulls. They were very, very proud of the work they'd done when they could have arrested Koresh in town, who went into town every day and had a business in town. We're going to come back and take calls. Can you stay with us 20 minutes the next hour?
Yes, sir.
All right, that way we can get through these calls and open it up for military officers who'd like to call in and talk about this. Have you been told, you know, will you fire American citizens? I mean, we know it was in 29 Palm survey. Stay with us. And again, the way tyrants work is they just ease you into it. But the general population out there inside this giant re-education camp that has become America need to ask themselves, do you want to be slaves under this? Now, again, we got a bunch of calls for our guests. They'll be all over the map. Some of them were holding before he got on with us. But then as each person hangs up, we're only taking calls in the next hour of military and police. I mean, again, in fact, we put the Army manual back up on screen if you haven't taken it down. I want to give people the 2010 Army manual, internment and resettlement operations, how to scan your Social Security number, how to put the children in one area of the camp, how to confiscate the guns, how to lock down U.S. cities. 3-39.40, internment resettlement operations. So there's more proof of what our guest is saying. Or the Army Times admits it, Brigade Homeland, the big police chief summit that they had Janet Napolitano at, said the new threat isn't al-Qaeda, just this week, but Monday, the new threat is returning veterans, gun owners, conservatives, and libertarians. We are violent, radical extremists because we know that globalists have taken the country over. And again, our guest is Dr. Jim Garrow. Let's go to Diane, then we'll go to Jeannie and others. Diane, you want to talk about martial law? Go ahead.
Oh, I got a couple things. First of all, I think I'm in good company. I guess I'm mentally ill because I believe there's an evil plan. But I'm not going to get in fear. It's going to be scary, but I've read the book, and I know how it ends. It's going to be good. I was wondering if you could confirm on one of these sites you've had on before, it's news.com, that there was evidently a truck pulled over that they found the martial law signs in the truck in Houston. And then I've been reading more and more articles. I'm trying to keep moving for you. I've been reading more and more articles about martial law just being inflicted in the home, where when we finally run out of food and supplies, we'll come out and submit. And I was wondering what you thought about that. I have an uncle that's retired from the Air Force that thinks we're total crackpots, that there will not even be a problem with the economy or anything against our guns for 10 or 20 more years. And he just retired in the last 6 years. And
yeah, notice people that are delusional think it's all going to happen after they die. It's always, and see, it's the old-timers that held all this back. And see, that's the paradox. Patriots hold it back, but still we're sliding, so we've slowed it down. And then as everything starts to happen, like we said, oh, well, it's supposed to be worse than this, as we battle to win the war against these people. I mean, it's such a mind game that's been played. But no, unfortunately, that martial law sign thing I've been hearing for 17 years, it's a proverbial deal. They're not going to call it martial law. It's going to be called civil emergency. And they're already, look, it's martial law when the TSA sticks their hands down your pants. It's martial law when the police have checkpoints in your town. It's martial law when the TSA is down on Lamar right now running checkpoints, searching people without warrants in Austin where I live. It's martial law when the military does drill in cities every day. I want to go back to our guest. Thank you for the call, ma'am. What about her point about martial law? We're always looking for martial law, martial law. If there is a big martial law, it's what about false flags? I asked that question earlier. You never got to it. What about Obama staging things?
Well, you know, and by the way, I didn't hear any of the caller's words at all.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was cut off. But in terms of what he does, let's face it, I think I've said this before, he's an incrementalist. That's what he does. It's by small increments that he sees what he can get away with and continues to go further and further and further at every turn. So in terms of martial law, remember, he's looking for a crisis, and then he will, as they said, we will manage the crisis. So the management of that crisis may be that you lose your freedoms totally. Right now,
tell you what, stay there. Back in 60 seconds. I want to hear more on this false flag or using crises. Straight ahead. Stay with us. MSNBC trying to get racial division going. They know full well when they call white people crackers and racist and all Southerners scum every day, that it will make whites start thinking that blacks and people are all racist. It's just unbelievable evil going on. I'm going to play a clip of that for our guest coming up. We just had a phone line open there for a moment for current serving military. Are they training you? We know they're training you to confiscate guns. I just showed the Army manual where it says that. But are they saying if you won't fire on Americans, you're in trouble? That's coming up after the break. But our guest, Jim Garrow, before we go back to calls, again, don't let a good crisis go to waste. But they staged Fast and Furious to blame the Second Amendment, shipping guns to Mexico. What about them actually staging something? I mean, if they're willing to do all this, why wouldn't they stage something? They've done it before.
Well, wasn't Benghazi also something that was staged, basically? It was meant to be a kidnapping, a supposed a quasi-pseudo-kidnapping of the ambassador, and then he would work it through the details so that in the end you had the blind sheik being released so that the dear leader could once again look heroic to the Muslim population.
And instead, he got killed.
Instead, the whole thing, and you know what? Two gentlemen stood up and put their lives on the line and held back 500 people for how many hours, Alex? 8 hours, and screamed for help, and were denied it, even though they had a gunship up there.
Well, they had two drones and a gunship up there over the 8 hours, and the help was denied. Why did they want them dead?
And you know, this is all information that's available. We know that they had the gunship. We know that they had the drones there. We know that they had the laser targeting. And these people were left. Whatever happened to, don't leave any man behind. I mean, this man in the White House is, man, I cannot believe. No morals, no scruples.
Well, he gets away with anything, and that's what's so scary. He's been given word he can move forward. Janine in Wisconsin, thanks for holding her on the air.
Hi, Alex. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Hey, I just wanted to share some ideas that I'm currently using to spread the word. And actually, I got the information and idea from you. I think you had said once that we need to go out on the street corners with a sign that says, 9/11 was an inside job, or whatever you wanted to put on it. And I actually have 16 signs that line my front yard, almost like the old political signs from the useless people that are running for city councils and stuff. I actually have 16 signs that have different various things from 9/11 to vaccines. I have a 6-year-old grandson that's got brain damage from vaccines when he was 18 months, so I advocate for that. And I also have magnets that I had custom made that I have on my truck on both sides and the back. InfoWars, Alex Jones, Hear the Truth, and I got bullet points of everything to direct them to you.
Well, ma'am, that's the reason we're reaching exponentially more people, and God bless you. It is a great idea. In fact, I've been so busy with other projects I haven't announced yet. We're going to give away 150,000 bumper stickers. In fact, I'm going to shoot a video about that tonight. People have to sign a little pledge not to put them on other people's property or in illegal areas. And we'll send out 50 to 100 stickers, depending on what people request. So you can give them to people at church, use them as a topic point, put them on your property, put them on other people's property that have authorized you to. So we're going to send out 150,000 bumper stickers that say Infowars.com, Save the Constitution, and things like that. There's 5 different stickers. So that's a great idea, ma'am. All of us need to just get the buzz of liberty going. God bless you. Anything else you'd like to add?
Well, can I add something? Is that
sure, go ahead, sir.
Me? Oh, good. There's the usual way where we stand up as a public. We run for council, we run for city council, we run for different positions that are open to us. We run for school board. But let me just tell you a little bit, if I may, about standing up. And I love the woman's creativity. I mean, that's marvelous.
Stay there. We're going to come back and talk to you. Long segment coming up with our guests, how to stand up. And we're going to talk to the military. The phones are open, 800-259-9231. Are you being told, kill Americans, follow orders, or get out? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do a special report on this week. I've talked a lot about it over the years and shown the news articles, but it's close to 59,000 when I checked last week. People have died since 2007 in Mexico. It's approaching 60,000, and I believe there's tens of thousands they don't know about that have been buried. There's some estimates over 50,000 missing, so that could be 109,000. But more people die every year in Mexico than died in the decade of the Vietnam War. 58,000 Americans died roughly over that decade-long plus conflict. We're talking about 59,000 since 2007, so 5.5, 6 years. And we need to get that number out because all guns have been taken in Mexico from the people. And the reason I raise that is at least 3 shot at office complex in Phoenix, Arizona. This is just breaking the last 15 minutes or so. And an employee at a law office in the area told newspapers he had seen 4 people taken in on stretchers. We've also got helicopter shots of that. Television footage shows dozens of officers entering a building where police say people are injured. And again, it's either gangs, it's somebody going postal, or it is a Prozac hit. It's always the same MO. And the answer is have guns in there. Because a bad person with a gun is going to kill you, just like Mexico. They got the highest crime rate in the world. They don't have the highest city, though. Mexico City isn't #1. Chicago is. By the way, the Chicago police chief, I've got that in the stack. He's saying, don't worry. We've had a 530-something killed last year. We've taken all your guns. Highest crime rate for any city in the world. It's not that bad. That's the quote in the Associated Press. In fact, I have even a video clip of him I was seeing this morning. It's not that bad, though he's in press conferences wanting you to turn your guns in. Where he's taken the guns, the murders aren't that bad. Oh, but isn't Sandy Hook terrible that this guy got guns illegally? And now you got to turn your guns in. But when people get killed in his gun-free zone, it's no big deal. So numerous emergency vehicles are at the scene. Video footage showing a person being taken on a gurney reached at the scene. And it's gotten to the point with more kids built a Lego. It looked like a gun with a Lego, so the SWAT team was called. That happened today. It's this total hysteria. People drive by and see a kid with a Nerf gun, bright orange, helicopters, police foaming at the mouth, hyperventilating, bubble projectors. Now the police are being called. I mean, there's nothing more deadly than a pink Hello Kitty bubble gun. I want to go back to our guest, Jim Garrow, and he want to talk about some solutions in standing up. He's somebody that knows how to stand up. And then we're going to go to James in Colorado, who's a Marine, who can comment on, has he been told, you know, are you ready to fire on American citizens? And the lines are open just for military people now. We've got some others that are holding from before. I'll get to you as well. But 800-259-9231. Our guest, of course, has talked to a, quote, living military legend who says he's talked to other officers who are being told now as a litmus test, will you fire on citizens? Well, I have the Army manual where they're now training for gun confiscation and shooting us. And the drills are waves of protesters being mowed down by full auto. Homeland Security's bought 1.6+ billion bullets the last 14 months, as you know, and now a new purchase order for Homeland Security, quote, personal protection weapons. We had that up at Infowars.com yesterday from the Federal Registry for 7,000 fully auto 308s for personal protection. Just you know, every week there's more purchases. So they're gearing up for World War III against us. But make your point about solutions, standing up in your words, then we'll go to that Marine.
Well, let's face it, in your local community, that's where you have your biggest sphere of influence. Generally, that's just a normal Joe, like you and I in our little neighborhood. So what you do is you run for office, you run for dog catcher, you run for police chief, you run for whatever. I want to give an illustration of the use of Alinsky tactics. I ran for school board in my local town. I won. Got on there. I started, putting the boots to the people who were just rubber stamping whatever the administration wanted in the school district, and it meant spending money like a drunken sailor. So what they did is utilize the media fully socialist Marxist up here in Canada, where I am at the moment, and I was back then. And so they use that Alinsky method. They freeze you, they demonize you, and they cause it that no one will listen to you, because the media, of course, tells the tale and controls the message. And that's what they will do. You must have a vehicle, some way of getting your message out. If you're going to run for anything, so that the truth is always available to the public you serve. But make sure that you have that vehicle. If you don't have it, you're dead, because the media will cripple you. They will freeze you, they will demonize you, they will put you out of business so no one listens to you.
But now Governor Cuomo, who wants to basically ban all our guns, total gangster, his brother is now the morning CNN anchor. But CNN's top show has 500,000, their average show about 90,000. They are an illusion. They are imploding. In fact, there's news today. When I was there, and I've been to their studios 3 times, it looked like a third world facility. I don't want to describe it, but I mean, the bathrooms, because after I saw one, I said, did they put me in this on purpose? I went and checked a few more. The carpet, light bulbs out, dirt on the floors in the studios, horrible morale. I mean, these guys are falling apart, but here it is. Cloward-Piven strategy. And of course, that's the 1966 sociologist that I first told people about 15 years ago, that books have been now written about by others. My greatest success is, even though, I'm not Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck, I make stuff popular and then they pick it up, which I think is great. I force it out there. But it was a plan to bankrupt New York City and other cities to make you accept socialism. The plan is to get you dependent. And this is published and officially used by the Democratic Party. That's why they're going to shut off your power plants. They're going to raise taxes on working poor until you give up and go on welfare. They want to run your life. Let's go to some Marines here. We've got James in Colorado. We'll go to him in a moment. But first, JC in Montana, Marine with news on General. So we'll see what that's about. And then we've got Army National Guard, Matt in Florida. Again, if you just joined us, our source, a top general, retired, told him that they're doing a litmus test now. Will you fire on U.S. citizens? And if not, you're ordered to resign your commission. I have all the background proving that's already happening. I found that in the news. And in Army manuals the last 3 years, it's changed. But what's unprecedented is, totally unprecedented is, the new SecDef nominee, Hagel, came out and said You cannot trust the military. They're not on your side, Obama. You've got to have a purge of them if you want your new world order. That was Washington Post yesterday. Okay, and we wrote an article about it at Infowars.com. I mean, this is going on, and it's a big deal. So let's go to JC. JC, well, what can you tell us?
Hey, Alex. Hey, Jim. How's it going?
It's going all right.
First of all, General Mattis, Mad Dog Mattis, from CENTCOM, was fired. And I'll read you what the Blaze put on. It's like United States Marine Corps General James Mad Dog Mattis was notified he was being replaced as commander of Central Command, not by a phone call from Washington, but by a note by his aide, according to Foreign Policy's Thomas E. Ricks. General Mattis was traveling in a meeting when an aide passed him a note telling him that the Pentagon had announced his replacement as head of Central Command.
No, I saw that a while back. 4 generals in the last month have been relieved. And the CENTCOM folks are angry because they begged the White House in the 8-hour Benghazi operation to let them bomb the targets and were ordered to stand down. That's come out.
CENTCOM, General Mattis is loved. He's a good man. He's a Marine. I mean, I'm a Marine. I mean, everyone loves this guy. I mean, I don't know if Jim's source was referencing Jim. He's probably referencing someone younger, the way he talks, that it was mentored by the general that he knows. But when Mattis is out of Central Command, something's wrong. I mean, there's no reason. I mean, and some of the stuff I read was General Mattis said he doesn't have the balls to come down here and tell me himself. I mean, this is the kind of man he is. Well, you don't get a name like Mad Dog for being diplomatic. But, I mean, this was a man that protected America, loved America, and, well, that's probably the reason he's not in CENTCOM no more. But,
well, no, there is a look. The military purge is already confirmed, but the new Secretary of Defense they're trying to confirm. The nominee says you can't trust the military, and they're purging them all around us. I appreciate your call. God bless you. This just backs up everything Dr. Garrow, saying from the MO, and I looked it up, and I know these guys run in the same circles. I believe it's General Boykin, the former head of Special Forces, because he's already speaking out. I already know people that know him well. He's anti-New World Order. He's in the film that we sell, Behold a Pale Horse with Charlie Daniels. He's speaking out right now about tyranny. I believe it's General Boykin. But, yeah, what about the general purge of the military and the new Secretary of Defense, who's a top globalist, Hagel, a fake Republican, a fake conservative, saying that, you know, the Obama can't trust the military?
Well, to do that, what an admission. Here are the people that are ready to lay their life on the line. I mean, think about this, the difference here. You got the military ready to lay their lives on the line. You got the politicians. What are they ready to lay? They're ready to go out and have a great wine and cheese at your expense and supposedly or purport to be representing you. And they're the ones that are afraid of the military. Well, they should be afraid of the military because they have not lost their sense of priority. Politicians have lost the priority.
And Leon Panetta, remember last year, he wouldn't go to any bases with any of even the officers armed. Remember that?
Yeah. Could it be that they really would rather not see him?
Well, I mean, that's why they want to go to robots and drones, because despots have always hated having to have real men do the killing for them. And so they despise them. That's why as soon as they're out of the military, they're the #1 enemy of Homeland Security. You heard me again. This is public. This is admitted. Our government says the military is the terrorist. I mean, wake up, folks. By the way, one of the many generals that they've kicked out is it's way more than 4. In the last few months, it's been 4. James Mattis, he said, in order to kill the enemy, you have to kill an innocent. Don't take the shot. Don't create more enemies than you can take out by some immoral act. See, that's what they don't like, though. They want people who think it's tough to just, you know, put al-Qaeda in charge and then later go in and fight al-Qaeda after you give them control of Syria. And a lot of the generals have been saying we should not be giving missiles to al-Qaeda. We should not, I mean, obviously you shouldn't be doing this. And the system doesn't care. They're going full speed ahead. They think the public is so dumb. our government, CENTCOM, had to put al-Qaeda in charge of Libya, now in Syria, and that's why they've removed, it's 3 top officers out of CENTCOM alone. So when I say 4 total, it's way more than that. I mean, they're kicking people out everywhere. There is a purge. There is a purge of the military because they don't want to be used domestically, and they don't want to work with al-Qaeda. And we're forcing that public debate, and that's a good thing. Let's talk with our guest who's going to ride shotgun with us for the rest of the hour. Let's go ahead and talk to Kevin, a Marine in Texas, and then we'll go to James, who's a Marine in Colorado, and National Guard folks, Matt and Bob, who was in the Rob, who was in the Coast Guard with an internal survey on gun confiscation. We know they've been creeping around with that for a while, but let's go to Kevin. Kevin, you're on the air. Go ahead and give us your point.
Hey, thanks. Just to go on with what you're saying about that whole purge of the military, well, the Marine Force Reserve is actually doing a FISRIG where every unit's getting realigned and with different MOSs, which is going to actually bring up, you're going to have thousands and thousands upon Marines being dropped out, kicked out of the military.
Well, you got to make places for the new women to fight in the front lines.
Well, right, but like at my unit, we're a combat arms unit, but we're not like infantry. We're tracks and stuff. 98% of my unit is going to be dropped, and that's going on across the nation. So you're going to have all these Marines being dropped out of the military, and then to go on along with what you were saying, you know, about how the military is on your side, blah 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 blah. This is going to, I guess, the way I'm thinking is it's going to actually have a effect on, you know, how you say.
Did you hear Al Sharpton basically say we don't need the military anymore? We have drones, and then if Americans cause problems, they've got drones. We played the clip yesterday. Let's cue that up in the next segment. I want to play that for people. I mean, that's every time I'm on the Young Turk show or I'm on another show, they go, we've got drones now. You gun owners are nothing. They admit it's all about them dominating us. And they, hey, sorry, you don't have your robot army yet. It's still humans piloting those now. Very interesting. Now, have you guys had anything brought up to you about will you fire on American citizens?
I got a recent survey dropped in my email. I haven't opened it yet, but a couple of my fellow Marines have. And they said there's some sketchy stuff in there about, you know, what would you do if, you know, Americans did this, did that. So, I mean, I haven't necessarily opened it yet, but I'm going to go home and open it. And another thing, have you seen the movie 2016?
Yes, I have, but let me just ask you a question. Do me a favor. Send me that survey. Open that, and everybody send your surveys and stuff to showtips@infowars.com with military questionnaire in the forum. Everybody has a right to see this. It's not classified. Everybody send that to us. Dr. Garrow's got a comment. Thank you for the call, sir. Go ahead.
Actually, he's covered the ground I wanted to cover, which is, you know, what information do you have at your beck and call right now? Because I've had other people say that to me, you know, guys, and this was a couple of Marines who said it, who actually said, look, we just got something that said we are supposed to start looking very carefully at what the public are doing and get ready to answer the following questions. So I'm glad he brought that up. It was exactly where I was headed.
And by the way, that's total treason. That, you know, 29 Palms happened, I don't know, 15, 16 years ago, but there's been others. I mean, this is in the Army manuals, but we need to show that they're vetting people right now. Officers are going to be asked point blank. Enlisted are going to have these more creepy questions brought to them. Let's go to James, a Marine in Colorado. What's your information on this front?
Yeah, I want to get straight to the point, Alex. I just want to ask a question to all the people that are listening right now on your show. That when was the last time they remember someone that has revealed a lot of things of the government, Federal Reserve, you know, exposing them a lot. When was the last time someone has survived that, or died or gone to jail? You know, and well,
there have been G. Edward Griffin, myself, Ron Paul, hundreds and hundreds of prominent people. We're the majority of thinkers. We're taking America back. We're victorious. Did you have a comment? Have you been asked if you will shoot at Americans?
Hold on. let me get to my point.
Well, okay, we got to go to break. These are hard network satellite coded breaks. We break at 30. All right, we got a shooting in Arizona, up to 4 injured, and now I'm seeing footage on Fox. We'll put it back up, your TV viewer, of guys that look like they're in Army outfits, look like they are Army. So they don't look like they're doing too good with all that gear, so those must be police. You can tell they hadn't been carrying, they can't carry gear 100 yards, much less 50 miles. Punch that back up. That is amazing. And they're saying that they think a man with a gun did something to the driver and grabbed a kid off the bus. I mean, this is just getting bizarre, folks. And if they keep hiding, you know, all this brainwashing out there, Alabama police and hostage standoff with suspect in fatal school bus shooting, kidnapping. And, I mean, who knows if that was somebody's dad who wanted his kid back or something. Who knows? This country. The Alabama man police say shot and killed a school bus driver. That was Tuesday, so I guess they're going back to it. We just saw that breaking, and I thought, not a new thing, and now I guess they've tracked him down and they're going after him. But again, there's 315 million people. Our crime rate, violent crime rate's down 49% since 1991. You can pull those statistics up at FBI.gov. 21% of that just since 2007, so it's accelerating. But the media can take the events of 300. Well, this is saying moments ago. I guess they've tracked him down where he's at. Yeah, that's what's happening. So the school bus thing happened yesterday. Now they've tracked down where they believe he's at. That's why it's new breaking news. This happened just as we were going back live here on the radio. Again, he was our guest the last hour. He's riding shotgun while we take your calls in this hour. And he's Dr. Jim Garrow. He heads up www.pinkpagodagirls.com. That's a group that saved, since 2000, 45,000 plus Chinese newborn babies that would have been infanticided, killed, which the major journals, bioethics journals, are now basically saying is a great thing to do here in the United States. Just absolutely hellish. They say, kill the old people, kill the babies. Nobody needs them. You'll get more tax money if we kill people. Once they communalize and get things collectivized, then they can tell you how to live your life. And then people dying, as Bill Gates says, you kill grandma, that's a death panel, that's a quote, then you hire 10 teachers, and the teachers clap. That's the sick collectivist model instead of grow the pie. And then you become North Korea and everything collapses, but they love it. But going back to the caller who was a Marine, I think in Colorado, did he hang up? Because he said he was a Marine, but I couldn't really understand. Yeah, he dropped off. He was talking about, I couldn't really tell what he was getting into, and then I said I'd come back to him, but I guess he didn't understand that. Let's talk to Matt in Florida, Army National Guard. Matt in Florida wants to comment. Again, we know the Army manuals, if you just joined us, in the last 3 years now trained for gun confiscation. And we know the military is being prepared for domestic operations. That's admitted. They're saying the new enemy is not al-Qaeda. It's conservatives, libertarians, gun owners. But now we've seen the incoming, if he gets confirmed, Secretary of Defense, former Senator Hagel, saying the military can't be trusted, you know, that Obama, if he wants his new world order, has to deal with the Pentagon, that they're not following orders. We know what the orders are. Give al-Qaeda missiles, set up checkpoints on highways. The military's been saying no, so there's a huge purge going right now. If you're a new listener, folks, it's mainstream news. The government gives al-Qaeda weapons now publicly. Well, why not? They can take our liberties when they attack. I mean, this all is so diabolical. But let's go to another caller here. Matt in Florida, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, I've been commissioned for, almost 11 years now. I've been in the Guard the whole time. And I will, bottom line up front, I will never confiscate anybody's guns. I will fight that order. I will never shoot on my fellow citizens. I'll fight. That's why they got the guys in Katrina from another state, because they knew their guys in their own state, in their own neighborhood, wouldn't confiscate their fellow neighbors' guns.
See, that's ridiculous. So, if I'm from Texas, I wouldn't take New Yorkers' guns. I mean, how is it different from a different state?
Well, it's mental, I think. I mean, if you're sitting there right in your own city, and that's why they originally got these guys, and that's why a lot of them now come back and say, well, that's ridiculous. Why did I do that? You know, a lot of them were brainwashed. A lot of them are young guys that just didn't know any better.
By the way, that's what the Soviets did, and at Tiananmen Square, the same thing. That's why they had to wait 8 hours. They brought troops in from 300 miles away from another province that spoke a different type of Chinese.
Yeah, and so my concern right now is this whole dual status commander thing, and I know you've tried to talk about this before, but it's where a general in the National Guard can command troops from the active duty. So they can come down as long as the governor says, yeah, it's good. They'll come in and they'll be able to basically be on the street with our soldiers, you know, shoulder to shoulder with our National Guard troops, and that's, you know, and then they're around on Posse Comitatus, and it's ridiculous. I mean, it's just another way of them creeping in that active duty component. And they, you know, they don't know the rules and regulations of the National Guard.
What do you make of the new Army manuals that train for gun confiscation and lockdown of U.S. cities?
It's ridiculous, and I've showed that to some guys, and they're like, "Holy cow!" The guys in my unit, they're like, "This is unbelievable. Where's this?" You know, and so the reason I'm staying in, and the last few years, my wife has always asked me, "Why are you staying in?" You know, things that you say about the military. Well, it's like I stay in because I want to warn people. I want to wake people up. That's why. That's my
beautiful.
And then every time I go to drill on my weekends, every month, I talk to them about what's going on. I wake people up all the time.
That's why they want to have the litmus test purge, is to get the good people out. And again, the military itself is individuals. It's who's in command of it. People say, well, you're anti-military. You don't want checkpoints on the highway. No, I'm pro-Constitution. It's like saying I'm anti-Ford truck. I'm not anti-Ford truck. I don't want a crazy person running me over with a Ford truck. It's just like I'm not anti-gun. I'm anti-bad people with guns, but bad people will always have guns, so I'm going to have my gun. Don't blame me for what somebody else does. Beautiful comments. I want to bring up Dr. Garrow to bring up any points he's got.
Well, you know, the whole psychological breakdown here of loyalties because of familiarity, I mean, that's a classic. That's a classic move to break down not only the loyalty one to another. For example, you know that the guy you've worked with and trained with is going to look after you and have your back in a combat situation. And you know that you're going to be loyal, or they know that you're going to be loyal to the guy who trained you, the officer above you. Or overall, let's say the general who has shown themselves to be honorable and very loyal to their men and been a real leader. I mean, that's real loyalty. Well, they want to break that down. They want to break it down because if they can break the familiarity pattern, knowing one another and knowing what the expectation is, they can bring in somebody new, and guess what? You'll do what they say. Why? You don't know any better.
But then that actually destroys the military, but they don't care. The heart of military is the honor and taking care of each other because they don't care. They want you to act like robots because they want robots that'll follow their orders. That's why they're going to robots.
No man left behind? Haven't we just seen a huge demonstration of the fact that that no longer exists with the commander-in-chief?
Well, it wasn't just left behind. A lot of evidence shows he wanted actually that ambassador killed because he wasn't playing ball and they were transferring missiles to al-Qaeda. We know they stood down for 8 hours with troops right down the street at a substation base in order to stand down, and only 2 Navy SEALs refused to not follow orders and went down and held off 500 guys for 8 hours. I mean, this is just incredible.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Isn't it? Can I bring up some good news, Alex?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Let me bring up some good news. I got a little thing, and I'm calling this The Mouse That Roared. Remember that silly movie with Peter Sellers, The Mouse That Roared?
Yes.
Remember that? The little Principality of Feswick or something like that gets an atomic bomb, and they cause the United States to surrender. Remember that?
Yes.
That was the mouse that roared. But let me tell you about a little mouse that roared incident that's happening right now. There's a lawsuit. It's against unlawful tyranny filed against Mr. Obama, the United States government, for acting like a king. And it's here. It's been filed as a lawsuit. It's a citizen who's a pauper, has no money, approached the court, made his case. In fact, the judge wanted to throw it out, but for the wrong reason. And so he's come back, refiled, and he's having her removed because she's an Obama appointee who was obviously trying to protect Obama, because this is kind of interesting. It's about the natural law and having a natural born citizen.
By the way, Obama has 2 courts have slapped him down for doing unconstitutional things on recess appointments and other areas. Caller, Matt in Florida, a National Guard officer. Anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, the other thing is, got guys that are in the Army War College and they're, as a National Guardsman, and they're basically being talking about this whole dual status commander thing, and almost all the guys, and luckily the guy that I know who's been there, because I talked to him, was against the dual status commander. They were actually trying to do regional dual status commanders, which they'd have a commander that would be in charge of several states. And
yeah, what they're doing is they've created the 10. Yeah, they've created the 10 regions with the governors saying you don't need 50. So, we have governors, the governors we appointed. Yeah, they're trying to totally get rid of any state control of the National Guard when it's always been state. Go ahead.
That's what I said. I was like, so that basically goes against all state sovereignty law. I mean, that's just basically usurps the law of that governor, and I guess they would all have to be in on it, but still, it's just like, the state sovereignty doesn't exist anymore at that point. And the final thing was, I know you talked about this before as well, but that Guard Experience magazine that comes out, and I get it, and I got it in the middle of the year last year, and they had on the front cover the threat at home, and it had a guy, his face was blacked out, and he was in military uniform, full battle gear, and it's like the threat at home, talking about how our returning veterans, and he's on a National Guard magazine, and I'm like, this is, I mean, I don't know. They're trying to, every angle they're trying to, throw this at us, and it's like, it's completely ridiculous when they send our guys over 3, 4, 5, 6 times, hopped up on painkillers and depression medicine, and they come back and they wonder why they're upset or angry, or they come back and, their life is totally flipped upside down, and they wonder why these guys are a little off. It's completely ridiculous.
Absolutely. God bless you, and I appreciate your call. We're going to go to more military calls, but first get another comment from Dr. Jim Garrow, who's on with us right now. But if we punch this up for TV viewers, you can see at Infowars.com, June 1st, 2012, we were mailed a copy of this, the actual magazine. This is what the National Guard is all mailed. National Guard magazine cover story specifies Americans as greatest terror threat. Well, it actually says veterans. Imagine, they're telling you you're the terrorist. Now go fight yourself. And let's continue. The latest edition of the Guard's Experience, the National Guard's official magazine, features a cover story titled The Threat at Home. And it is a guy in a National Guard uniform with explosives tucked in. Who and what are the biggest dangers to Homeland Security? Now, if you're a foreign megabank that took over America, you're getting ready to fully gut it, you're going to say the veterans who are patriots and willing to fight, they're the enemy. I mean, imagine if out of a Simpsons episode where the spaceship lands, what's the name of the Simpsons town? Springfield. It's one of the few episodes I've seen. And the spaceship lands, and Ugg and Gug, these big 14-foot green aliens, go, "We are your rulers." And the mayor and the Rockefeller guy comes up and says, "Yes, you're right, we bow to you," which is exactly how it would work. This would be like a giant flying saucer landing, announcing, "We'll destroy your planet from orbit if you don't bow to us. And by the way, the new enemy is anyone that says that the planet Booblebapper or whatever isn't in control." And, now here's your new Guard magazine. Anyone that says aliens don't have a right to rule you is the enemy. I mean, founding fathers are bad. George Washington's bad. Bill of Rights is bad. Private property bad. Mao Zedong good. Tyranny good. I mean, this is what they teach at the colleges. And now they're saying, Alex Jones, I mean, they say in articles, "I'm a terrorist, I'm a radical, I'm going to kill people." CNN has said they need to kill me because I'm going to kill them, and they wouldn't want to be in a room with me because I might kill them. I have no criminal record. I mean, these are mad dog tyrants. And, since the guy mentions that, see, when I'm listening to a guest or a caller, I know if they're for real because I'm immersed in this stuff. Okay, I'm not bragging. I mean, I live this. I dream this. So they're saying things. I know if they're true or not. Truth is, I already know almost all this stuff. I just have folks on to give their views on it and different perspectives. I'm here to get you to be aware of it. But the caller's like, "It's so ridiculous they're teaching us the military are the #1 terrorist in our own magazine." That's Alex, because they're a foreign power. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Alex, they're stealing the language, aren't they? Like, think about that. You've got a vet. You've got a man who's given service to the country, and he's the terrorist, okay? Now the public's looking at terrorist, vet. We're redefining the language. Are we not?
Yes, I mean, it's incredible.
Okay, do we have some time to talk just for a second about something that goes way back to this whole notion of redefining things and stealing the language?
Absolutely.
Can we do that?
Go.
Okay, let me go. Yes?
Yes, go. Give it to us.
Let me go way back. Let's go into the Bible for a second. Do you remember when all of the disciples first came together? Do you remember it says something about, and they held everything in common? They held everything in common. It meant the rich people brought in the goods and services that they had and the dollars that they had because God had blessed them with it. What was the notion? They were going to share it. They were going to have it in common, not a redistribution of wealth. It's a big difference here. There's a huge difference between the sociological kind of thing, the Marxist kind of thing that they're talking about, Obama and crew. So they held everything in common. Later on, we have the English or the British common law. What's it come out of? It comes out of the scriptures. What has Obama done? He has taken communism, and turned it into communism. Two different things. One gives glory to God for the bounty, for the blessings that he has given, and the responsibility that you have one to another as Christians or citizens one to another. You hold things in common. That's why, if you notice Boston Common, isn't that piece of land that everyone has in common? And that used to be the principal part in the downtown of all the little villages that were around, the little towns. There were commons. They were areas where it was held in common. It wasn't privately owned. It was publicly owned. It was held in common for the good of the common man, So what Obama and crew are doing, and they're teaching this in universities, is stealing the language. So you think that because you give something away to someone, that's being a good socialist. Giving to those who have need because you have. Well, that's not what it is. The original Christian message was that we hold all things in common from the bounty of God who gave it to us. So we share that bounty of God as a responsibility, not as a social nightmare defined by Marxism. So I'm just bringing that up for a short message there.
No, you're absolutely right. And right now on screen for TV viewers, I'm showing the PDF of the National Guard magazine. And it says the #1 threat in here is gun owners, veterans, and things like that, next to Al-Qaeda. It puts militias next to Al-Qaeda, next to counterfeiting, next to loan groups, and says it's the military's job now to operate domestically. And it's in search of the hidden enemy. Look, everywhere but Washington with the globalists that have taken over. Trust no one but the government. Again, that is the message they hammer home. More calls from military. Jason, a Marine, Rob, and others. National Guard, straight ahead. Don't forget, this broadcast is listener-supported, and we have all the sponsors that I have vetted, that I believe in, whether it's InfoWarsHealth.com, the finest healthcare products out there that have been incredibly well-researched. Look at the studies, videos, all of it up there. Whether it's Midas Resources, the name for 15 years in precious metals. And they've got a lot of great deals on gold, silver, you name it. Just call them and tell them Alex Jones sent you. You want the daily radio specials that are the day's lost leaders. That's 800-686-2237. Our online video bookstore, T-shirt, apparel, shopping cart, InfoWarsStore.com's got the best water filters, all of it. Support us so we can have other people on the worldwide transmission to support what they're doing. We are something here to magnify edifying information and try to shake people out of their coma. Let's take a few final calls for Dr. Jim Garrow, who's been helping blow the whistle on Obama trying to get the military to fire on citizens. It's good news, though, that Hagel came out and said he's got to get rid of the entire military leadership, that the Pentagon isn't under the president's command, because the president came to Congress and told them he's under NATO and UN command. The president is, by that action, guilty of tyrannical, treasonous activity. I mean, that is what it is. I mean, this stuff's so over the top, words can't describe it. Let's go to Rob, who's a New York Coast Guard internal survey on confiscation. Rob, quickly, thanks for holding. Tell us what you know.
Alex, it's an honor to speak with you, and thanks for everything what you're doing to get the message out there.
Thank you, sir.
Back in the early 1990s, I'm going back maybe 1992, 93, they did surveys back then with the U.S. military, And a lot of servicemen says, no, we won't fire upon American people. You know, God forbid if there was ever martial law.
Yeah, no, that was in the news actually in about '94. It was Clinton. Yeah, so they've tried this before. The good news is they try, we fight. They try, we fight. It's an eternal battle. Go ahead.
Right, exactly. So what they did was, since the United States military said no, they says, okay, we'll bring in foreign troops under the United Nations, which they did.
And
they hid them in these United Nations biospheres around the country.
Well, they don't even hide them. They do the open training now under NLE and all the rest of it. God bless you. Great points. Your comments on that, Dr. Garrow?
Well, I mean, let's face it. These people are planning. They got a long-range plan in place. I think the Hagel thing is a rather big oops moment, don't you think? I mean, here's honesty coming out, but don't you think that poor Obama's kind of going, you shouldn't have said that in public? But we have the benefit of honesty for a change.
Well, I mean, Hagel has been to Bilderberg. Hagel is somebody they really like. You know, 90+% of the votes when he won the Senate were counted on a company he owned. So that should give you an idea about old Mr. Hagel. Let's jam in one more real quick. Captain Briggs in Illinois, go ahead.
Good day, El Jefe, El Guapo, Alessandro Juan, and Dr. Garrow.
Good to have you here.
I've been running back and forth between Texas, Illinois, and New Jersey, and I've actually spoken to my son who's on active duty in Hawaii. The word from the troops around those three specific areas is no, they will not fire the American people. And when things go down, the National Guard guys will melt back into the populace. And for those guys, like the young Marine who called in earlier, do the right thing, maintain your oath, remember your values, and those of you who are being displaced from Dictator Obama's ranks, take care of your neighborhood and do it as peacefully as possible, but prepare for contingencies.
Well, yeah, again, they're going to stage a false flag or use some other real crisis to come after everybody. And I don't think they're going to get away with it. I mean, for those that just tuned in, Senator Hagel was in the Washington Post. They were quoting him in a meeting saying, you can't trust the military. They're not under your command. Well, that's because we know from the military's actions, they've been refusing unlawful orders. I want to thank Dr. Jim Garrow for joining us. He helps save 45,000 Chinese girls that would have been killed after birth. PinkPagodaGirls.com. Great having you on. Great having that big update, sir.
Thanks, Alex. It was great to be here. Love to do it again.
We'll talk to you soon. I'm going to do a few minutes of overdrive to talk to Jesse, Duff, and Jason. Stay with us. Infowars.com. All right, we're into overdrive. You know, I didn't even get to the MSNBC host talking about cracker white people. Can we cue that up? And we'll go to that in a moment. Jesse in Arizona was saying Congress reported on Arizona shooting beforehand. You know, they did that with Building 7. They said it had fallen in its own footprint before it did, an hour before. And then they said the same thing about JFK because they get their timing off sometimes. Let's go ahead and go to Jesse. Jesse, what did you see?
Thanks for having me on, Alex. I was sitting there watching the local news, and they hadn't even finished locking the building down, and the reporter goes, well, let's go back to the congressional hearings that coincidentally are being held over the gun violence, and Kathy Gifford is having, you know, her speech there, pushing all this propaganda from Obama, and this guy Mark Kelly goes, yeah, I have information that there was a shooting in Phoenix, Arizona this morning with multiple injuries, and the people weren't even at the hospital yet being reported locally, but they already knew inside the congressional hearing.
Well, that's because Homeland Security is wired into all the local police departments now, but we need to time that because this won't be the first time they've screwed up if that's what happened. Sometimes they report it before it even starts, and that's how we catch them.
Yeah, but he was knowing that there was multiple injuries and people.
Yeah, it's called jumping the gun. I'll have to look into that. We were recording it this morning, and so we'll look into it. Thank you so much. Great point. By the way, Aaron Dykes ran in with this report. MSNBC edit portrays gun owners as heckling father of Sandy Hook victim. I remember MSNBC is being sued for editing the Zimmerman tape, where Zimmerman's going, okay, there's a guy with a hoodie walking around. Okay, yeah. Well, what's he doing? He's doing this. What color is he? Looks like he's black. They edited it to, yeah, there's a guy walking with a hoodie. He's black. And then got caught doing it. So this is breaking. Cable propaganda network deliberately edits out Sandy Hook family member asking audience a question which gun rights advocate responds to and makes it look like heckling. We're going to, let's add the part about Zimmerman in here. I think that's very, very important to show they have a history of this. Speaking of MSNBC, let's go to a clip of one of their people on there saying crackers. Again, get white people to think everybody who's of color is racist. This is open race baiting. This is racism to create racism for divide and conquer. Here it is.
Those, crazy crackers on the right, like if they start with their very hateful language, that is going to kill them in the same way. 0506, the death knell for Republicans is the tone of this conversation. Yes. They absolutely had even.
And again, they have a white woman, this Finney, come out and say it. And it's led by that. You don't turn your guns in, you're a racist cracker. You don't turn your guns in, your Southerners are trash. Al Sharpton, we've got to overcome the Southerners and the Constitution. I mean, it's just, it's absolute. We're Northerners, we're going to get the Southerners. Trying to get Northerners to act like that when Northerners aren't like that. Do we have the Al Sharpton about drones? Here's Al Sharpton about, don't worry, your guns mean nothing. We got the drones now. Here it is.
I mean, if you look at the Second Amendment, it was that you would have militia to protect yourself in case the government came and attacked citizens. First of all, if the government were to come to disarm you, you would not be able to use an automatic weapon to defend yourself.
So you're saying game over.
Serious. We're in a world of drones now. So the Second Amendment would not help you in that area. We're talking about people do not have the right to unregulated rights.
You see, and everybody's really smiling when they hear about the drones. Oh, those are our drones. Oh, the government loves us. Yeah, the government's sworn to kill you. I mean, the people that run the government, the globalists, set up Planned Parenthood to make sure most of you weren't born. But it's like the government's our friend. It's that same look like little kids, like they've been, like they're sitting on Santa Claus's lap. Government loves me. Oh, we got the drones now. We got the drones. We got the drones. Meanwhile, what is it? More than half your men end up in prison. I mean, it's just so sick. It's so sick. So sick.